Hello everyone, it's Mark. I am the Sanderson Collector, and this week there is a second edition of the Leatherbound 10th Anniversary Elantris hardcover put out by Dragonsteel, and I have a copy here right next to the first edition, and this week I am going to talk about the differences and show those to you. Now before we get into that, the Way of Kings Kickstarter is over, and it was wildly successful, which is awesome. I'm looking forward to all of the stretch goal items and all the swag and everything from that. If you did not get a chance to back, there is a backer kit up now that is essentially a pre-order store where you can go and get the bundles up through the $200 bundle with all of the swag except for the poster. There will be a link to that in the description. However, if you already backed, the backer kit for you is not open yet. That backer kit will open up in a week or two when Kickstarter finishes processing all of the pledges that they have gotten, and all that data can be input into backer kit. That is when you can use the extra money you spent on the campaign or add money to it. But if you want to just go pre-order and you did not back the campaign, there is a link. Go ahead and do it now. And just a quick note, I am up to 350 subscribers here on YouTube and 120 on Instagram. That is so awesome and makes me so happy. So thank you to everyone who has been subscribing and commenting and liking. It just makes my day to see all of y'all enjoying the content that I put out. So without further ado, let's get into it. As I showed in the intro, there is a new second edition Elantris, and this is a true second edition, meaning that Dragonsteel has made some rather significant changes to the physical book, and they started over with a new number line and state that it is a second edition on the copyright page. And so I'm going to be talking about those differences today and how to figure out which edition you have. If you are a collector hunting true first editions, the second edition is not something you want to get. And so if you are buying books used, say on eBay, you really want to make sure you get a first edition first printing of this, not a second edition first printing. And I've seen the first edition first printings going for like 500, 600 bucks, especially for the numbered editions on eBay recently, whereas the second edition first printing is currently available in the Sanderson store for 100 bucks. And personally, I think it's a better edition. They learned a bunch of things since the first edition that they have applied in the second edition, and they have switched which printer they use, so it is a slightly higher quality. And so if all you want is a book to look nice on the shelf, I recommend the second edition. If you're a collector going for first edition, I'm going to go over the differences here so that you know what to look for. Now, as I mentioned, there is a new printer for this one, and it is the same printer that they are using going forward for the Way of Kings Leatherbound and so on. The paper that is used for the pages, you cannot really see the difference here, but you can feel it when you feel the two pages side by side. The new paper has a little bit more texture. The old paper is just slick and feels really smooth. The new texture, the colors do pop a little bit more, and that is mainly for the end papers. The interior art pages are about as glossy and feel very much the same as before, and all of the same art is in here as well. They did not swap up any of that. The main difference is to the text of the book itself. In the original, they used the same text that Tor put together for the 10th anniversary hardcover that Tor released, which is like this one over here. However, that means that they skimped on pages sometimes, and for example, some of the chapters start right in the middle of the page, and they do not get page breaks to delineate each chapter. The chapters start in the middle of the page sometimes, such as you can see right here, and they do not get their own page for each chapter. In the new one, not only does each chapter get its own page, but they also start on right-hand pages always, so previous pages are sometimes blank, then the chapter starts on the next page. And for example, here, the chapter goes and then ends on the next page, and then we get another chapter on the page after that. These are the same chapters that I showed you previously. Therefore, the page count in this one is different. The final page is 618, followed by 2 pages of bio, and then the back end paper in the new second edition. In the first edition, the last page is page 590, followed by 2 pages of bio and then the end paper. And I just noticed that the bio in the back is different as well. In the old edition, it does not have a picture of Brandon. It simply has the short bio right here. And in the new second edition, it has a picture of Brandon and an extended bio that mentions Skyward, which was not out at the time the first edition was printed. So that's another cool little difference. The new edition has a larger spine. This is partially due to paper quality and partially due to the expanded page count from the chapter header reflows, and the spine is actually redesigned. You can see here that there is only like one little set of places where the lines come together outside of the central design, and over here there's like an extra part of that, and so the actual design is different, and the way the lines flow across right here between the hubs is different. Down here, the kerning on Brandon's name is a little more spread out, and the Dragonsteel logo is a lot cleaner, and the background design actually extends past the Dragonsteel logo instead of the Dragonsteel logo extending past the design right here. So those are obvious things to look for the spine of the book on the shelf. The front covers of the books look very much similar. This is the first edition and this is the second edition, and it's going to be very difficult to see here, but the difference I can find is that in the first edition, the design is simply foiled on the front and it is very flat. In the second edition, the design is actually slightly recessed into the front, and you can feel the bumps of the Aeon as you rub your finger around, which I think is a really cool addition, and I'm really looking forward to seeing that on all of the Stormlight books. The bookmarks that the company uses have changed as well. The first edition here uses a smaller ribbon bookmark, and the second edition uses a larger ribbon, as you can see here. And I have found this across various of the editions of like the Mistborn series when they switched printers and so on, so that is one of the most reliable ways to tell when these things got switched. And the final difference to look at is the copyright page itself. The copyright page on the original says that it is a Dragonsteel Leather Edition and only mentions one Dragonsteel Leather Edition. Here is that copyright page. See, it only says one Dragonsteel Leather Edition, and it has an ISBN that starts with 97807653, which is what all of the ISBNs issued by Tor come out with. I believe the contract that Dragonsteel had at the time said that they technically published this book through Tor, and so that is why it has that Tor ISBN in it. The second edition, on the other hand, has an additional line right here that says First Dragonsteel Leather Edition and then Second Dragonsteel Leather Edition, March 2020, so it came out earlier this year. And additionally, the ISBN is 97819387, blah, blah, blah. So it is a different ISBN, and that is because the book was put out officially by Dragonsteel themselves. So those are the differences that I have noticed between the first edition and the second edition of the 10th Anniversary Elantris hardcover Leatherbound, put out by Dragonsteel. I'm going to reiterate. 1. Be careful if you are buying a first edition secondhand. Check for some of these differences. Ask the seller to send you pictures, because the differences, especially the spine design and so on, will be very obvious between the first and second editions. So contact your seller, get pictures, double check that. Do not just blindly buy a first printing if you want a first edition, because they are not the same thing anymore. However, if you want a book that looks nice on the shelf and you are simply looking for a very pretty leatherbound, I recommend getting the second edition because it's a lot cheaper. You can buy it straight from Dragonsteel's website, and I think that it actually looks nicer because they've upgraded the printer quality. The chapters flow better and look more professional. The bookmark is larger and easier to use, and the cover looks nicer with that little embossing. The spine looks nicer and more uniform with the other books. So that is my list of differences for the 10th anniversary Elantris Leatherbounds and my recommendation for what you do if you're looking to buy one of these books. So that is everything that I have to talk about this week. I hope you all have enjoyed the video, and happy collecting for whichever edition you choose to collect.